What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Road Talk. Today we will be setting ourselves to chapter 1048 of One Piece. Guys, this chapter was a mediocre chapter, if you don't mind me saying that. It was just a certain word I'm looking for. It was a lot of dang, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't it's like when you are trying to recap. Okay, it was a recap of a lot of stuff that's been going on right now and on the Shigema and the war of Wano. And it was great and all. It was things to move forward, but the chapter was just mediocre, like I said before. But without further ado, let's get into this amazing chapter of 1048. Let's go! This chapter basically starts off with how the last chapter started off with. Momonosuke is still trying to push the floating island of Onishigima from falling down onto the capital, and since Luffy is about to punch Kaido right into that Onishigima floating island, that we need that island to be moved so the people that's in that island can be safe. So Momonosuke is still taking part of that and pushing it, and it looks like he is having some more resolve, and especially since we had that flashback with his mother telling him to gotta move forward into the future and all that jazz. So that is where we left off with Momonosuke, and it looks like Momonosuke will probably in the next few chapters be able to move that, all depending on what happens next between Luffy and Kaido. Probably the best part of this chapter was between Luffy and Kaido fighting it out once again. Luffy had a grab onto Kaido when he went into the clouds from last chapter, but Kaido, being the emperor he is, the Yonko he is, the one of the strongest creatures in the world, he showed that he still had more tools in his tool bag. And since Luffy was grabbing upon him, he used all his dragon breath and he coated himself with that dragon breath, making him into like a fire dragon, and which is absurd. And Luffy could not hold on until that dragon, and his hands was starting to burn, which I thought it was kind of cool, because if Luffy is rubber, like what is something that could beat rubber? I would assume fire. So that is smart thinking by Kaido by using his fire to try to resolve that issue from Luffy grabbing him. And then Luffy being one of the greatest persons in One Piece, he absolutely had no fear with that fire. He was like, don't even sweat it, Kaido. I'm not even going to touch you, because the flower shows me how to punch you without actually making contact with you by using Ryo. So Luffy is still having this gigantic fist that he's still coming to hit Kaido with, and Kaido is still going at Luffy. And then we see a big explosion between them two colliding, and there's still no results about what actually happened after the end of the chapter, but there was a big explosion, and we have to find out next chapter. And the reason why I was calling this chapter was basically like a recap, and it was kind of mediocre because we did have a lot of that. When Kaido was fighting Luffy, he was like, hey Luffy, you know that person that was the hero of Wano 20 years ago, he died, and y'all were supposed to be the replacements of him to come be the saviors of Wano. And then we got a big old flashback of all the stuff that kind of we already knew, all the information that we had. It was a little bit of new things inside of that, between Kaido figuring out that Momonosuke was the son of Odin, and that he was going to resolve that on his own. We saw a little bit in snippets of that, but for the most part, we've seen how the people of Wano was still struggling to fight against Kaido, because after Odin left, they still have resolve amongst themselves, especially the daimyos. They still want to go and fight Kaido and Orochi. So it did show you that little bit, but it was all information that we kind of, the people of the One Piece, kind of knew about, that people would have resolved and didn't want to follow Orochi and Kaido's plan. They loved Odin and they wanted him to be their rightfully king, or their ruler of Wano. So it was all kind of stuff that we honestly knew about, and then we had to see Orochi once again, how Orochi was connivable, evil. He was just the worst person I know that's on One Piece so far. He's right up there, and we showed him that he was still how the people got the smiley fruits and they can't stop laughing all the time, and how he planned that for them. He was like, he didn't want those people to be able to grieve. He didn't want those people to be able to feel any sadness. He felt like they was worthless, and the only thing they had to do for him is to laugh for him, and that's why he gave them smiley. He just wanted them to be a big joke their whole life and nothing be serious. So that would just, Orochi is once again evil, like that's straight evil, and I'm so glad that we had a resolve between him and this chapter. All thanks to Denjiro, because Denjiro showed up in the nick of time as Orochi was going to fight Hiyori, or take Hiyori down. Denjiro showed up and gave Orochi that final slash that he needed to be finished off. And something that I cannot take credit for, another YouTuber about Sawyer, he kind of, I watched one of his videos and explained a little bit about Orochi's powers, and Orochi had 9 heads. And if you go back and look at all the chapters that Orochi got beheaded, he had beheaded 8 times already, and one last one was needed to be able to defeat Orochi. So, and Denjiro did that. So shout out to Sawyer for doing that. Like, that was, I missed that, but I gotta give him credit. I won't take the credit for that, but that was the final straw for Orochi. So real talk this time, we don't have to see Orochi no more, and I'm so glad to be able to say that. Please, Oda, do not bring him back on no flukiness or no nothing. Just let him be finished now. Orochi's not needed no more in One Piece. He served his purpose to be in the evil character. Please, no more Orochi. Gives me some hope, because the fire lanterns that people write up and it's supposed to be fly out to the sky and to their ancestors and to the heavens, and they write little messages and tell their ancestors what they want. And one of those things that the people of Wano was writing up is that I wish Orochi would go away, and that was the same time that Denjiro beheaded Orochi. So I feel like that is a resolved issue now, thanks to that like little notes that Oda did or showed us right there, that Orochi is going away. That is solved now, basically. And then there was some other lanterns that was still floating onto the sky as well too, saying that they want to drink clean water, and they wish they was free from this hell that they were in. One of the things that I found very interesting into this chapter was the fact of Rio and Haki. And one of the reasons why I found that interesting is because of the King's Conqueror's Haki. I thought King Conqueror's Haki, when you code it around your own Haki, that is like you non-touching that opponent when you're using your fist, like I previously stated in this video. But since Luffy knows Rio too, is that a different type of King's Conqueror's Haki, or is that a whole different ability too? Is that something that your King Haki can even push further, so you won't be even touching Kaido? And I feel like in a way that, remember the elephant scene with Rayleigh, and he pushed that elephant up without even touching him? I feel like that is the kind of feat that Luffy is about to have in the next coming chapters with his new move that he's using, and I feel like that's something he's gonna be able to do. He's basically gonna be able to start pushing things with just with his fists, and that's gonna be actually OP and broken, because if Luffy don't need to touch nobody, he could just be, and especially with his arm distance, he can just be from miles and miles away and be able to do that. That's just gonna be broken. Like, Luffy's already broken being the cartoon person he is, being able to stretch, grab lightning bolts, but now if you give him that, I really don't know who can stop Luffy if Kaido cannot stop Luffy. speaking of Kaido stopping Luffy, I don't feel like Kaido will be finished in the next coming chapter, just because it just seems semi-climatic for me for Kaido to just go down like that. But it does look like he might at the same time, because we have all those fire lanterns, and I believe those fire lanterns are a clear symbol of the issue of Wano being resolved. And the second thing that I do enjoy about this chapter, and something I found interesting, is just that when they're showing how Wano was getting changed from those 20 years, from this joyful land to the devastated land, it gives you that great emotional contact that you need, connection with the chapter, because without that issues and all that, you don't really feel like it's a big issue. But when you grab that all together, it really combines the feeling of the chapter and what Luffy is fighting for, what everybody is fighting for on that Onishigima Island. So it really brings it all together, and I do appreciate that. But it was a lot of recap. It was a lot of stuff that we already know, and we just want to see all these issues being resolved, of the borders of Wano being open, what's going to go on when the Marines show up to Wano, what is going on with my guy Zoro, like what is going on with him, like is he going to survive, and how is Momonosuke going to bring this floating island down to the ground. I think he probably will get some help from Luffy, and Luffy being able now to be rubber, probably going to be rubberized the whole entire Onishigima Island, and this is going to be bouncing for a while until it completely sets still. It's going to be like a ball, but basically bouncing until the ball stops. And I think that's probably what is going to happen, and I feel like that was something that should have been done in this chapter 1 down to 48, instead of more recap of stuff that we already know. And that's why I gave this chapter a 7 out of 10. It was just mediocre. I don't think I could ever give a One Piece chapter a 5 or below, because I just love One Piece so much, and it does bring great joy. And just reading these chapters a week or whenever we get it, when Oda's not on his breaks, does bring a lot of joy. So guys, Joy Boy, maybe Oda is Joy Boy in a way. Hey, look at that. But guys, it was fun once again. Until next week, if you guys want me to do any more content, comment right down below and tell me what you guys want me to do. Until next time, peace.